I never ever wanted to make a video like this because for the first time in my life I wanted the public to turn on the police, and that's really not an acceptable view, is it? But I've been driven to it. Let's have a chat.
It's all too much, I think you said enough. It stinks hypocrisy to me.
First, a little bit of background about myself. I was brought up in a police house. My father was a policeman. He was an inspector in Bedfordshire Police. I was brought up around other policemen, and I most certainly had a huge amount of respect for policemen at that time. We're talking I can remember the 70s just about, but through the 80s as well, basically through my childhood and formative years. But yesterday I was watching the footage from the march in London, which was pro-Jewish, basically against all this from the river to the sea nonsense. And there's a certain person there, don't shoot the messenger, I'm just telling you the way it is and the way I see it. Tommy Robinson turned up to this. Now, there's a lot of people who say he's a Zionist and he's paid by the Jews and all this lot. I don't really care who he's paid by, if he is paid by those or anything. When someone brings something valid to the table and talks about things that other people aren't talking about, brings it to your attention, then I think that has to be valid, regardless or disregarding who he's paying him or who he's funded by, because I don't believe that anyway. But let's just get this out here, okay? When he was uncovering the thing with the rape gangs and all that sort of stuff, do you think he should have just shut up just because he isn't talking about the Catholic ones or anything else? I see all this. I've just got to get this out of the way before all the idiots pile in on me, okay? I've had it on a couple of videos ago when I talked about Tommy, and people were telling me racist, hatist and all this shit, but I can't cite any example at all. I've asked them, I've begged them almost for links, and no one can do it. The closer I got saying, well, he's a Zionist. Again, I don't give a shit whether he's a Zionist. Okay, so if you haven't heard already, Tommy got arrested again yesterday, and he went down to this march basically to speak out for and on the side of the Jews. He was there in support of this. Now, Tommy is a journalist. Now, there's going to be a few of you out there going, F off, aren't you? You are. And shall I tell you why you're going to tell me to fuck off? Fuck it, I might as well say it. You're going to tell me to fuck off because you're thick as shit. Okay, if you don't think that Tommy is a journalist, then you've been sleeping under a rock. You can look back years to see what he's been doing. Okay, we had, Rebel News. Now, that's not a news thing that I would watch, okay, because I always thought that Ezra Levant always used his journalists like Tommy and Avi Yemeni to actually fulfill a narrative, okay, which is the wrong way round, yeah? So I never really liked that, but Tommy was still a journalist. And then we had his Panodrama. Have you watched that? So if you like I say, if you're doubting for one moment that he's not a journalist, then you need to go and watch that. Have you watched The Rape of Britain? Have you watched Silenced? Have you watched any of these things? The answer for anyone who there now is spitting their dummy at me on here. You haven't, have you? You haven't, because all you've done, I've got no problem with you disliking him. Got no problem with that at all. Everyone can like or dislike whoever they want. But if you're disliking someone, it doesn't have to be Tommy, it can be anyone. Owen Jones, Benjamin Butterworth, whoever, those on the other side, Lammy, Abbott. You mustn't dislike them because of the way the press has portrayed them. That's so important. You must dislike someone because of their actions and the actions you've seen rather than ones that have been skewed. So, okay. So here's what happened, okay? Tommy was arrested. Have a guess what for? Just being there. I know you're looking at me and saying, well, that can't be true. I've watched a rerun of the whole live stream, and he was just being there. He was there in support. He even asked some of the other journalists when he was getting arrested and pulled around, do they agree with what's happening? And even the guy from Sky said, no, this is wrong. But the police were in there, 30 or so of them, probably more than 30, to be honest with you, were pulling around and saying, basically, what they wanted him to do was piss off. And they were citing with Section 5. I kind of know a bit about this. Again, a bit of a police background. It's a catch-all law. Basically, what they're saying is you're causing someone distress. Anyone can say this, he's causing distress. your presence here may cause distress. That's what he got a dispersal order for. Now, obviously, he ramped it up a bit, which is fine. I would as well. And then they were asking him his name. Remember, this is in front of loads of cameras. So obviously his name isn't Tommy Robinson. It's Stephen Yaxley Lennon or whatever. Okay, which again, who cares what it bloody well is? And then they asked him for his address. And Tommy said to him, you want me to put my family in danger and give you my address and with all these cameras around? And the police officer, he was a sergeant and he was a complete twat. Wouldn't have it. So more manhandling went on. Okay. Then he basically got dragged off. Okay. Quite a way. And he was dragged to a police van. There was lots of people around him, lots of journalists there, and you could hear the disdain for what was going on, even from people I would say wouldn't agree with Tommy's political views and all that sort of stuff. Okay. But what was going on was terribly wrong. And this is the point when I was watching it, when they were manhandling for nothing. Okay, and they just were. I don't care what any of you say. Go and watch it and then come back to me and say he was doing something bad. Because he bloody well wasn't. Okay? So I was watching him being manhandled, and I, at that point, was hoping and wishing that the public would step in and say, that's enough. That's enough, Met Police. Because now, this isn't about what he's done. This is political, and what you are brown boots for Sadiq Khan. And not just that. I was going to say it's just the Met. I was disgusted at the Met, but I'm not disgusted at the Met. I'm disgusted at the whole fucking thing. Because I could see Cheshire Police written on people's backs and all this sort of stuff. These officers, these policemen, police women, all of these people, when they signed up to join the police, they signed up to protect and serve the public. They were never employed to protect and serve a cunt like Sadiq Khan and his ilk. I'm sorry that I say that word, but I am so pissed off with this. And I'm pissed off with myself for thinking this because of my upbringing. I think it's a terrible day. When I look at the police as well, I just look at them and think, you pathetic pieces of shit. And I hate myself. That I am honestly do not like, and I'm not advocating anything here. I'm not telling you to go and do anything like that. I'm just telling you what my personal feelings were while I was watching this. When my father was a policeman, you had to be 6 foot tall, a minimum of 6 foot tall. Okay? And you know why that is? It's so that you can see above an average crowd. And you would wear the proper police hat. And that was so you can be seen in the crowd. Okay? Because a police presence was a massive thing then. And people had respect for the police. You had to be physically fit. You couldn't be a fat fucker. Okay? So you had to have something about you, which I agree with. And let me tell you, in the 70s and the 80s, most people respected the police. They just did. They were scared of the police. Now no fuckers scared of the police, are they? Because you've got 5 foot tall little women there in their silly baseball caps carrying out the orders of a twat like Khan or our government. They are foot soldiers for our government. They are not serving the public. And this is where I'm getting to. This is where I'm worried. They are not serving the public. I think it's horrific. Absolutely horrific. Now, as it went on with the Tommy thing, he was marched to a van, to a meat wagon, as what I would call them. A Black Mariah, as I used to be called, but they're not allowed to be called that anymore. In fact, you're not even allowed to call them the police force anymore. Do you know that? You're not allowed to use force, because that's a bit of force. That's a nasty word. So now they're the police service. Fuck off. Okay? So, they marched him to this thing, and that was kind of, you see there was something going on. He wasn't doing much at all. But then the next piece of footage that I saw was Tommy inside, so he obviously still had his phone. He was inside the meat wagon, Black Mariah, whatever you like to call it, and he'd been pepper sprayed. And his eyes were all swollen. He was in bits. And I think it's awful. Now, here's my point, okay? I just said to you, I believe that the police were there to serve and protect the public. And at the moment, they're not. They're become politicised. When you look back at the last few years, you've seen them. I can't have any respect for some stupid little pussy going down on his knees, begging forgiveness from black people. Black Lives Matter. That was a load of bollocks. I got really annoyed at that. I hated it with the footballers. If any of you know me, it winds me up. That created more division than it solved. And then we have all the pride shit. Again, do what you want. If you want to stick your cock up another bloke's arse, or if you want to lick the same side as a stamp as another lady, that's up to you. I mean, I like the lady bit, I have to admit. So, but that's your prerogative. But the way the police are getting involved in it, grinding, police cars with rainbows on, this can't be it. You can't take that police force seriously. That would never have happened in my father's day. It would never, my dad would have looked at him and told him to fuck off. I ain't driving that. That's what he said. I ain't driving that panda car with a fucking rainbow on it. And you know what? He's right. It's absolutely right. It's unbelievable. And then we got the, the Notting Hill Carnival. And you watch what goes on in there. And it's like you're watching the police and thinking, are you having a fucking laugh here? This is a police force. I want every one of you out there to respect the police. But you can only respect the police if that's reciprocated and they are giving you something to respect. Right now, I can't respect the police. And do you know what has to happen? The only way I can see this ending is for the police themselves to say no. This is enough. The police have to say no. But let's be honest, most of them are woke shitheads who couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. That's the truth of it, isn't it? And I hate myself saying that. I've still got friends in the police. Maybe I don't see them as often as I did, but I still have I know people in the police. Let's just put it like that, okay? And I feel bad that I want to defend the good ones, what we would perceive as the good police officers. But I don't see there's many of them there. If they're not going to stand up for what's right and what's wrong, then I'm sorry, there are no good police officers. They need to stand up for what's right. And they need to stand up for what they actually signed up to agree to when they went into the police, to serve and protect the likes of me and the likes of you. Not be fanning around with someone who's got offended on fucking Twitter, or putting certain sectors of the community, those lovers of peace, they're untouchable. People are waking up, and I'm in fear of what may happen, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to incite that to happen, but there is a point. There is a point where something's going to happen. People are going to snap, and that's when it's going to be a very, very sad day for the United Kingdom. But it's coming. I can feel it. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Don't be shooting the messenger, like I said. If you think that Tommy isn't a journalist, well, go and fucking educate yourself for a start, okay? And if you think it was right that the way he was treated, well, I'm sorry. You have no place in my life. Get off my channel, fuck off, go and educate yourself and stop being a twat. And with that, the rest of you that are taking this on board, you don't have to agree with me, but you're sensible human beings and you can see that things aren't quite right. And God bless you. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that nonsense. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.